I never expected my blind date to arrive with kids in the car. My heart stopped in disbelief as I watched a battered blue minivan screech up to the cab. The unexpected sound of giggles floated through the air like musical notes in a dissonant symphony. My fingers trembled as I adjusted my scarf, eyeing the scene like a detective in a mystery novel. Who were these children? Did they belong to him? Anxiety twisted in my gut, choking my breath. The door swung open, revealing a boy with messy hair and a girl clutching a stuffed bear. They leaped out before the engine even had time to die. My mind raced. I had imagined candlelit dinners and deep conversations. This was chaotic. A new world crashing into my quiet evening. Was I ready for this? As he stepped out, I caught my breath. His green eyes sparkled, but shadows lurked behind them. He flashed a disarming smile, his hands sleek with nervousness. Was it for me, or the children? I couldn't tell. The sunlight captured the contours of his face, making him look angelic, yet something ominous hovered in the air. Hey, sorry. I didn't think they'd want to stay with their grandma tonight, he said, scratching the back of his neck. His voice, smooth but trembling, set off alarms in my head. What was he hiding? Would these kids be a part of the data us? Suddenly, I felt the weight of adult responsibilities pressing down like a heavy blanket. The girl waved at me, her eyes big and curious. Ah! She chirped, as if this were completely normal. My insides twisted again. Was this all some grand setup? An unexpected plot twist, drawing me in deeper. The boy peeked from behind her, his youthful energy contrasting sharply with the tension radiating from his father. I could almost hear the ticking clock behind us. I took a step back, caught between excitement and dread. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a lifeline to my old self. I silenced it, not ready to deal with my friends' curious messages or the reminders of my solitary life. A choice loomed heavy: embrace the chaos or retreat to safety, and then, I caught a glimpse of something in his gaze, a flicker of uncertainty. It was a reminder of my own fear, rippling beneath the surface. Suddenly, everything felt so fragile: the kids, the date, the potential future. Could he be more than just a man with children? Or was this an invitation to heartbreak? Are you ready for pizza? He asked, attempting to lighten the mood, but the air felt laden with unspoken words. What lay behind that casual question? My heart raced. Would I regret my answer later? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The scent of warm pizza wafted through the restaurant, mingling with the laughter of families and the clinking of silverware. It felt so wrong to be here, to be trying to enjoy something so simple when a deep sense of uncertainty and dread clouded my mind. I took my seat at the small table, the plastic red and white checker tablecloth somehow too cheerful for my turbulent thoughts. "Oh, you want pepperoni or cheese?" he asked, his voice breaking slightly as he leaned over to the children, his green eyes softer now, as if the weight of his responsibilities faded for a moment in their presence. "Pepperoni." The girl shouted with glee, clinging tightly to her stuffed bear. The boy, meanwhile, seemed more hesitant, biting his lip as he looked over the menu. I should have felt happy for the children, their carefree spirits illuminating the dreary atmosphere that had settled over our table. Instead, my heart contracted with an unfamiliar ache. What was their story? Did their laughter mask a sadness I couldn't comprehend? I was painfully aware that I was stepping into a world vastly different from the one I had envisioned for myself. "Can I have an orange soda?" the boy finally spoke, his soft voice spilling into the space between us. The request felt unusually innocent, yet somehow weighed down by silent struggles. "Sure," his father responded, ruffling the boy's hair as he jotted down the order. But there was something in the way the father's hand lingered, as if he sought comfort in that innocent touch, and it tugged at my heartstrings. "Thanks for inviting us out," I said, hoping to inject some warmth into the conversation. I forced a smile, but the doubt simmered underneath. Was I really invited, or was this all just an awkward arrangement to keep the kids entertained? My own insecurities mingled with the children's carefree demeanor, creating a tempest of emotions raging inside me. As we waited, I observed the little girl whispering to her bear, her tiny brow furrowed in concentration. My heart swelled. Was she confiding her worries to her stuffed friend? "Do you think she's telling him her secrets?" I ventured, hoping to bridge the chasm of silence that had fallen upon the table. "Maybe," the boy replied quietly, his stormy grey eyes meeting mine with a seriousness that belied his youth. "She tells him everything." "I think it helps her. Does it help you too?" I asked, my voice softer now. He shifted uncomfortably but nodded slowly, his brows knitting together in thought. "Yeah, sometimes. I talk to sometimes I do." There was something heavier behind those words. Before I could respond, their father captured my attention, his gaze turned distant as if haunted by a memory. I wanted to reach across the table and touch his hand, assure him that he could share whatever burden was troubling him. Instead, he cleared his throat, masking his vulnerability with a rehearsed smile. "Sorry, just thinking about how much pizza these two can eat," he joked, but the laughter was hollow, barely skimming the surface of reality. I wanted to peel back the layers, find the truth hiding beneath the facade. Did he feel trapped? Was he finding strength in the children's laughter, or was he simply trying to keep the ghost of their past at bay? When the pizza finally arrived, the cheerful chaos erupted. The children dug in with abandon, cheese-covered hands flying as they playfully fought for the biggest slice. It was almost picture-perfect, except for the shadow that followed their father like a cloud, darkening what should have been a joyous moment. As we ate, the kids chattered away, but I found my thoughts drifting. Each giggle and silly comment felt like a thin veil hiding deeper sadness, flaring my curiosity to its breaking point. I wondered about their mother. Where was she? Would she ever come back to claim them, or had she already faded into memory, leaving damage in her wake? "Whoa, slow down." Their father laughed nervously as the little girl almost toppled out of her chair in a fit of giggles, causing my heart to skip a beat. The innocence of the moment tugged hard at my chest, and suddenly, without any warning, the boy looked up, his expression serious. "Are you going to leave too?" The words hung in the air, silencing the laughter, chilling the atmosphere as icy fear twisted in my gut. The child's innocent inquiry shattered the illusion of casual dining, revealing the underlying truth. Could the children sense the fragile reality of grown-ups, dancing precariously on the edges of emotions? A lump formed in my throat. I glanced at their father, desperate to understand his story, but he seemed just as lost as I was. Why would I leave? I managed, my heart racing as vulnerability cracked through the brave facade I'd been attempting to maintain. "Because sometimes people do," the boy said simply, as if reliving a truth far too painful for someone so young. Suddenly, a ring from my phone shattered the moment, vibrating violently against the table. I fumbled for it, the suddenness of my own chaotic world crashing into this fragile sanctuary. The name flashing on the screen sent my heart plummeting. It was Mark. My ex-panic bubbled in my chest. Do I answer and risk unearthing a past I was trying to escape, or do I ignore it and focus on the dawning reality before me? A flash of guilt buzzed beneath the surface as two pairs of innocent eyes watched me ask what kind of person I would be, unsure of whether I was ready to embrace their chaos or retreat back into solitude. And with that chilling choice looming over everything, I pressed my lips together, inhaling deeply as I attempted to weigh the impact of every decision about to unfold before me. The silence stretched, heavy like a storm cloud burdened with rain, and I felt the weight of two innocent pairs of eyes boring into my soul. Their laughter now felt like a distance echoing from a world I feared I could never reach. The phone continued to buzz insistently, breaking the spell of the moment, and every vibration slides deeper into the fabric of this fragile reality. Are you going to answer that? The father asked, his voice low, almost hesitant, as if he could sense the turmoil raging inside me. There was a flicker of understanding in his gaze, a silent acknowledgement of my struggle mirrored by his own daughter. It's nothing, I stammered, forcing a smile that felt glued to my face, one I was beginning to doubt could mask anything. Just an old friend. The lie tasted bitter on my tongue, and it left a lingering residue of shame. The boy was still watching me, his little brow furrowed with a sense of seriousness that pierced my heart. Old friends can still be important, he said, his voice steady, so wise for someone his age. What if they need you? I swallowed hard as my fingers hovered above my phone, torn between the life I was trying to build here and the untangling of the past that threatened to pull me back into its dark embrace. The father shifted, a shift so slight, yet it held all the tension of unspoken burdens. His eyes flickered away, staring at the wall, as if contemplating how long he could hold back the tide of unresolved emotions washing over him. I turned to him, compelled to reach out, to know if he felt the same pull. Do you think we can truly leave the past behind? The question hung in the air, thick with the weight of our shared pain. He finally looked back at me, his green eyes deep pools of unresolved turmoil. Sometimes, it follows you like a shadow. No matter how far you run, he replied quietly, the slightest tremor shaking his voice. The little girl's laughter cut through our heavy conversation as she playfully tugged at her brother's sleeve, prompting him to engage in another small food fight. A moment of reprieve filled the air, but it felt fleeting. How could they be so carefree while we wrestled with ghosts of our own past? My heart ached to protect their innocence, to shield them from the world's cruelties that had already cast shadows on their father's spirit. But how could I promise them safety when every choice I made felt like it could shatter their delicate balance? I took a deep breath, committed to joining their momentary reprieve. I leaned in closer, whispering, "Okay, who can eat the most pizza slices?" Their giggles erupted once more, echoing around me, tender notes that seemed to chase away the darkness for an instant. As the battle for slices commenced, laughter filled the restaurant, weaving a fragile tapestry of joy amidst the growing complexity of our gathering. But even as we laughed, the specter of unresolved emotions lurked just beneath the surface, an ever-looming threat. Between playful bites and triumphs, I caught sight of the father watching me with a hint of curiosity. His gaze was searching, as if considering me in a new light. "You know," he began, breaking through the playful chaos, "if you need someone to talk to, I'm around. Sometimes just venting helps." There was kindness in his voice, the type of kindness I hadn't expected to encounter amidst our silent struggles. It made my heart swell, forcing a mix of gratitude and something heavier. Hope sprouted in the cracks of our shared sorrow, urging me to take a leap of faith. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again, more insistently this time, pulling me out of that budding connection. The weight of uncertainty crashed down on me. It was Mark again, and my heart raced. What did he want? It was like a dark spectre reimagined, the echo of a life I had long tried to escape. I started, glancing at the screen, the name echoing in my mind like a siren song. The shadows were closing in again, the fragile moment of laughter at risk of shattering. But just then, a sudden question erupted from the boy: "What if they ask you to come back?" His eyes were wide, unguarded, pulling at my heartstrings in ways I couldn't comprehend. I froze. The fleeting nature of childhood innocence surrounding me seemed to highlight every choice I'd made, every decision that had brought me to this moment, and every fear I'd buried alive. "What if?" I echoed quietly, heart thudding against my ribcage. "What if they want me to come back?" As the words left my lips, the father's expression shifted, revealing a flicker of understanding that mirrored the storm brewing inside me. A deeper bond seemed to form, yet I was terrified of where it might lead. But before I could grasp it fully, the little girl, sensing the seriousness in the air, held up her stuffed bear and said softly, "He says you can always come back if you want, even if it's hard." Tears pricked at my eyes. How could that small voice feel so profound? I leaned back, suddenly struck by the weight of those words. Could this family, so full of unspoken burdens, somehow allow me the strength to face the choices looming over me. The decision pressed heavy on my chest. And as I looked at the father, seeing perhaps the flicker of a connection I had long denied myself, my phone buzzed one last time. With shaking hands, I looked down to see a new message. It wasn't just Mark. Among the chaos of my burgeoning tumult, a fragment of hope anchored itself in my heart. The message read, "I know what you did. We need to talk." Panic coursed through me, punctuating the air as I felt the temperature drop. The laughter faded into a haunting silence, and as I looked up to the two children, I realized that the fragile world we had built gathered around us now felt at immense risk of shattering. The laughter from the children faded like the last light of day, the shadows creeping back in. I could feel the tension in the air shift, the weight of my past bearing down on the fragile moments we had just crafted. "Are you okay?" the father asked softly, concern etching itself into the creases of his brow. His gaze flitted between me and the glowing screen of my phone, a silent question hanging over us. The flickering of the screen mirrored the uncertainty that danced in my chest. I stammered, wishing for the right words to pull me out of this labyrinth of emotions. But all that emerged was a strangled cry. "I think I need some fresh air." With that, I rose abruptly, feeling the eyes of the children and their father upon me as I made a hasty retreat to the door. The chill of night enveloped me as I stepped out onto the street, but the cool air did little to soothe the tempest swirling inside. My breath came out in shaky puffs, matching the chaotic rhythm of my heart. I could hear the soft laughter from inside fading into muffled whispers, a word I longed to be part of yet felt unworthy of. Each passing moment felt like a thread unraveling, and as I glanced back through the glass, I saw the boy leaning close to his father, whispering something I could not decipher but instinctively feared. I pressed my back against the cool wall and clutched my phone tightly, my fingers trembling over the message that felt inscribed with a fate I couldn't ignore. "I know what you did. We need to talk." Even just reading it ignited a flicker of dread, memories of a time where darkness had seeped into my very being. The weight of my choices wrapped around me like chains, and I found myself battling the urge to respond immediately. I knew it would lead to an unwelcome confrontation, but the thought of silence was equally suffocating. As I stood there, marooned between the past and the present, I felt a presence approaching. It was the father, stepping out into the night, his face a looming silhouette against the dim light of the restaurant. "Hey," he said gently, and it felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed." I melted slightly at the kindness in his voice, but the walls of my heart refused to come down entirely. "I don't want to burden you with my problems. It's just things are complicated." He took a step closer, the gravity of his understanding casting a warm light around us. "You're not a burden. We've all got our shadows, don't we? It doesn't define who we are. Can we talk?" Looking into his eyes offered an unexpected sense of intimacy that sent my heart racing. The gentle warmth in his voice stirred something forgotten within me, a growing hope that perhaps I could lighten this burden with honesty. But how could I? The truth felt as raw as the day I'd made my mistakes, clawing at the edges of my consciousness. "There's so much you don't know about me," I whispered, "then teach me. Please." There was conviction in his voice, a kind of unwavering support that whispered of a way forward. Just then, we heard the small voice of the girl from behind him, her figure bathed in the soft light spilling out from the restaurant. "I brought Mr. Fluffers," she exclaimed, holding up her stuffed bear with unwavering pride. "He says he can help you, too." In that moment, all tension crumbled like the facade I had clung to so desperately. A laugh escaped my lips, richer and fuller than I had anticipated, and I felt a momentary reprieve. The innocence of the child grounded me, reminding me of the possibility for kindness in the unlikeliest of situations. But as soon as the laughter faded, the steel string of anxiety tightened around my heart once again. "I don't want to put you and your kids in danger," I breathed, realizing only now how truly vulnerable I felt. "I don't think you grasp how deep this goes." The father's expression softened, concern mixing with determination. Danger. Listen, we've both been treading those waters lately. But running away will only leave the shadows behind you. Let's face it together, whatever it is. Tears welled in my eyes, drawn out by the warmth of his compassion. Why was he being so unrelentingly kind? It shattered every expectation I had, but even as I felt a flicker of hope shining through the cracks of my despair, I couldn't shake the pit of fear curling in my stomach. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, ripping through the moment like a jagged knife. The message was more urgent this time. Tonight. No more hiding. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. A warning reverberated within, shaking the very foundation of the connection I'd just begun to forge. My heart pounded as I read, the implications spinning through my mind like a dark storm edging into view. I have to go, I said, panic tightening my chest. I need to wait. The father reached out, his hand brushing against my arm, grounding me, yet I could feel the tension unspooling around us like silken threads, ready to snap. Will you at least let me know you're safe? Meeting his gaze, I could feel the weight of the promise innate in his words, the trust teetering upon the precipice of revelation. But as my heart raced, I found myself at the edge of a dark chasm filled with uncertainty. I nodded, though the back of my throat felt tight. Okay. I will. Yet deep down, as I turned to leave, I realized I was caught in the snare of a choice that could alter my fate and theirs forever. The unknown shadows loomed ever closer, and the very remnants of peace I had clung to felt like a memory slipping away as quickly as night gave way to dawn. Just before I stepped away, I heard the girl sing softly, "You can always come back if you want." Those words echoed behind me as I entered the night, their haunting resonance weaving a thread of hope and dread that wouldn't let go. Whatever lay ahead, I felt like I was gathered in the eye of the storm, waiting for the tempest to descend. The night wrapped around me, thick and heavy, like a wet blanket suffocating my every breath. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I walked away from the warm glow of the restaurant, the echoes of laughter fading into an abyss that mirrored my own spiraling thoughts. I fought back tears, knowing I had just stepped into the eye of a storm that put my past back on the front lines. Rounding the corner, I found myself en route to the park, the one place I used to retreat to for solace. The path was illuminated by flickering streetlights, casting long, disjointed shadows that danced along the ground, a disconcerting reminder of the fears I couldn't shake. My fingers danced over the phone in my pocket, the weight of the messages pulling at my resolve. As I stood at the entrance of the park, a gust of wind unceremoniously whipped through the trees, rustling the leaves like whispers trying to beckon me back to safety. But safety felt like a distant dream now, an illusion I couldn't reach. I took a deep breath, forging ahead, my heart echoing wildly as I sought refuge beneath the canopy of oaks. Just moments later, my phone buzzed again, ripping through the tense silence like a starting gun. The message was from an unknown number. "I know you're close. Meet me where it began." The cold grip of dread tightened around my heart, morphing into an unyielding fist. I had not been given a choice, the shadows were closing in on me. Suddenly, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind me. Whipping around, I caught sight of a figure peeling away from the dark embrace of the trees. My breath hitched as I took a step back, adrenaline flooding my senses. It wasn't until he stepped into the light that I recognized the familiar face of an old acquaintance, someone I hadn't seen in years. "Jason," I breathed, the name escaping my lips like a ghost from my past. Though he was once a friend, his presence transported me back to the darker days I tried so desperately to forget. The weight of unspoken history hung thickly between us. "Heavy as stone, long time no see," he said, a smirk creeping onto his lips, though his eyes glinted with something deeper, something dangerous. "You've been busy, haven't you?" "I've been keeping tabs." My stomach dropped. "I don't want any trouble," I implored, my voice shaking. "Please, not now." "Trouble? Oh, sweetheart, trouble is the least of your worries." He stepped closer, his demeanor shifting from playful to predatory, filling the void with a tension thick enough to slice. "It's about the past," And you really can't keep running forever. Each word felt like shards of ice piercing through me, reminding me of all I had buried, all I hoped never to see again. You don't have to do this, Jason. I made my choices. A glint of amusement painted his face, but the darkness lurking behind it sent chills down my spine. Sure you did. But those choices seem to haunt you, don't they? He stepped even closer, invading my space. And it looks like they have a new audience, maybe a certain father and his kids. Wouldn't want them to get involved in your mess. As fear twisted into a coil within me, I thought of the father's kindness, the warmth of the children's laughter, and how precious a moment that had been. My heart raced, tinged with regret and dread as I saw Jason's gaze flicking behind me, and I realized he understood the weight of his threats. Stay away from them, I warned, trying to sound fierce, but it felt weak and fragile, flailing against the tide of looming danger. They have nothing to do with this. But they might be your only way out. They can't help you, you know, but I can. All it takes is one little choice to set you free, he taunted, his voice dripping with malice. In that moment, clarity slashed through the haze of fear. I was caught in a crossfire battle I had thought I had escaped, one that now threatened to pull innocence into the undertow. Suddenly, I felt a voice calling out from within, urging me to reclaim a part of myself that had long been silenced by fear. "I'll never let you drag them into this," I vowed, summoning every ounce of courage I had left. Jason's laughter rang hollow, echoing ominously through the night. "That's a nice thought. But they're already involved, darling. And I'll be watching." With that, he turned, melting back into the shadows from which he emerged, leaving me standing in the cold grip of reality. Panic flooded my veins again, mingled with a fierce protectiveness. Those children deserved a life untouched by my past. The sacrifices I had made to protect them had to hold value. Just as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed one last time. Heart hammering, I glanced down to see another message. It was from the father. "Are you okay?" "We're worried." The warmth in his words sparked a flicker of hope, but I could feel the shadows closing in again, suffocating the fragile strands connecting me to the present. I stood there, breathless, overwhelmed by the swirling emotions before me. I needed to respond, to reach out for support, yet my future hung precariously on a tightrope between despair and joy. "Promise you'll be there," I whispered to the night, though I didn't know if I could keep that promise for anyone, not even for myself. Feeling the weight of my choices settling heavily around me, I took a deep breath, ready to overcome whatever lay ahead. But little did I know that a storm was brewing, one that could not only dismantle the threads of this fragile moment but potentially endanger everything I held dear. And as I stepped forward into uncertainty, a single thought looped through my mind: the past was not done with me yet. The murmur of the pack dissolved into silence as I grappled with the collision of past and present. My heart echoed with the looming threat of Jason's words. The message from the father paused in my hand like a beacon, illuminating the darkness that surrounded me. I succumbed to the instinct to turn back, but my feet felt rooted to the ground, weighted by memories and the crushing fear that Jason lingered somewhere in the shadows. "Are you okay?" The father's words were simple, yet they held a world of concern. I thought of how his smile had radiated warmth, how his children's laughter had been a symphony of innocence. I had been drawn into their orbit, reminded of the normalcy I had long abandoned. With shaky fingers, I typed a response. "I'm fine. Just needed some air." I hit send before courage could slip away, my heart drumming as uncertainty gnawed at me. Before he could reply, the reality of my choices pressed upon my chest like a vice. I thought longingly of the moments I had shared with the father and the kids, the little adventures, the fleeting joys. The vision of Jason's face twisted those memories, distorting the sweetness of those times into something filthy and perilous. I paced aimlessly beneath the trees, the cool breeze swirling around me, teasing tears from the corners of my eyes. I could hardly breathe, feeling like a moth drawn toward a flame, knowing full well the impending burn. Then, a rustle from the brush made my pulse spike. My breath caught, and the night seemed to hold its breath with me. Had Jason returned? Was he ready to bring the full weight of the past crashing down on the family I had just begun to care for? But instead, a small figure emerged, a child. The little girl from the park, her soft curls cradling a multitude of untold stories. "Are you okay?" she asked, her big eyes shimmering in the dim light, brimming with a kind of innocent concern that melted through my fear. "Hey sweetie," I whispered, dropping down to her level. "What are you doing here? I just wanted to check on you," she said simply, her small hand reaching out to touch mine. The warmth of her tiny fingers soothed the part of me that had felt so battered by darkness. "I'm okay," I reassured her, even though my heart felt like a ticking time bomb. "What about you? Shouldn't you be with your dad?" She chewed her lip, contemplating. "He's with my brother. They are looking for treasure." Her eyes sparkled with excitement, momentarily lifting the weight that threatened to pull me under. I couldn't help but smile at her cheerful spirit, a reminder that fragments of happiness still existed, even when shadows loomed so large. "Treasure, huh?" "That sounds fun," I replied, trying to ground myself in this moment, in her innocence. She nodded vigorously. "You can come. We have a map." "Maybe another time," I said, my voice thick with the ache of what I couldn't promise. The weight of her hopeful expression was enough to make my heart shatter. "But you look sad," she said, a note of sincerity nestled in her tiny voice. "You shouldn't be sad. My dad says sad means you forget the happy things." Tears threatened to spill as she spoke, her words cutting right to the core of my turmoil. Behind the child's innocent wisdom lay the greatest truth. Happiness seemed fleeting, almost unattainable now, suffocated by everything I had tried to outrun. Gathering strength from the small encounter, I squeezed her hand. "You're right," I said, my voice just above a whisper. "You'll try to remember that." Just then, my phone buzzed again. It was the father, his concern again tinged with warmth. "I found some snacks. Want to join us?" My heart soared momentarily, but it was quickly tethered back down by the reality of my situation. Enjoying a picnic with them felt like a dangerous game. What if Jason was right? What if my connection to them embroiled them in the chaos of my past? As I struggled with my decision, the ground beneath me shifted, a heavy thud, vibrating up from the earth. In that moment, my hands shook, eyes blooming in my chest. I looked down to see the little girl gasping, eyes darting towards the trees, where shadows threatened to engulf. "Did you hear that?" she squeaked, clutching my hand tighter. A shadow flickered at the edge of the pater figure, tall and menacing. My breath caught as I recognized the silhouette instantly. Jason emerged, a calculating smile replacing any semblance of innocence. "Daughter, I see you've made a friend," he drawled, a sinister edge in his voice. "I hope she's not too much trouble to deal with." Panic surged through me as I gripped the little girl's hand tighter, shielding her with my body. Jason's presence shattered the fragile moment of light we had uncovered. "You shouldn't be here," I shouted, the words flowing from my lips, desperate. "Oh, but I think I will be," he replied, inching closer, a dark promise behind his eyes. I could feel the dread curling in my stomach. The stakes had risen higher than I could have imagined, and the children, their laughter, their warmth hung precariously in the balance. However tenuously I had grasped hope moments before, the storm raged menacingly closer, and I knew that the choice before me was not only for me to make. "Let's go," I said to the girl, trying to think through the fear paralyzing my thoughts. She looked up at me, confused but trusting. "Where to?" "A place we can be safe." But as I turned to lead her away, Jason's voice slithered through the air. "We both know you can't run forever. You'll be waiting." The words hit me like a blow, and doubt wormed its way back into my thoughts. I fled the park, every step fueled by the urge to protect the children, but deep inside, trepidation churned. How long could I keep this facade? He had entered the narrative of my life again, and with each passing moment, the walls began to close in once more. With every heartbeat, I knew this was just the beginning. The past hadn't finished its story yet, and it threatened to drag others down with it, those who least deserved it. The tension thickened, reality twisted, and the ground I stood upon felt like it was crumbling beneath my feet. The weight of Jason's words clung to me as I navigated through the trees, the little girl's hand firmly grasped in mine. The cool night air danced around us, wrapping us in a shroud of uncertainty. I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were alive, breathing down my neck, the darkness encroaching upon my sanctuary and threatening the fragile happiness that had blossomed just moments before. "Where's the treasure?" the girl asked, her innocent curiosity bringing a slight reprieve to the fear clawing at my insides. "It's hidden far away, sweetie," I replied, forcing a smile as we pushed through the underbrush. "We need to find a safe spot first. Then maybe we can plan a treasure hunt together," she brightened at the thought. "Can we do it by the swings? That's my favorite place." Her excitement was palpable, and for a second, it dulled the chaos that twisted through my thoughts, but as we reached the edge of the park, the world outside loomed larger, a tangible reminder that my bubble of safety was fragile like glass, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. I spotted the father and his son near the swings, their laughter rising like a beacon in the murky darkness. Relief washed over me, yet I couldn't shake the dread gnawing at the back of my mind. How could I bring the kids to them without dragging them into the abyss that Jason represented? "Do you hear that?" The little girl's eyes widened, her voice trembling ever so slightly. My heart sank as I turned, demanding the truth of the air around us. The laughter from the father echoed eerily, juxtaposed against Jason's lingering threat. Would he truly let me go, or was he merely biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? The thought twisted my stomach painfully. "Stay close to me," I whispered, keeping my tone light but my heart heavy. We stepped into the moonlight, where shadows gave way to illumination. A part of me yearned for the safety of those who could stand against the storm, but another part of me knew it wouldn't be that simple. As we approached the father, he turned toward us, a gentle smile transforming his face into a picture of warmth. "There you are." I was starting to worry, he said, his tone shifting as he noticed my pale face. "Everything okay?" Before I could answer, the little girl beamed, her spirit unbroken. "We were looking for treasure, huh? What kind?" He crouched down to her level, involving her in their moment, and for that instant, the world felt whole again. "Hidden treasure." She giggled, and I felt myself start to smile, memories of innocence reminding me of the joy I had almost forgotten. But the flicker of hope was quickly overshadowed by the fear that loomed behind me. "Actually," I began, the weight of the moment heavy on my shoulders. My mind raced with the potential fallout of my next words. Would I ruin this little slice of heaven if I disclosed the danger at our heels? But the father's smile faded as he caught the flicker of fear in my eyes. "What happened?" Before I could answer, a rustle echoed through the trees, gut-wrenching in its clarity. Every instinct inside me screamed for caution. I felt the shadows tighten around us, gathering like a storm cloud on the horizon. "Stay here," I whispered as I moved slightly away from the group, my heart hammering in my chest. The children's laughter faded into silence behind me, and I turned my head just enough to catch sight of Jason just at the edge of the park's neon warmth. He lingered, like a poisonous shadow, watching, waiting. The father's voice cut through the tension as he stepped forward, his concern layered with an undeniable sense of protectiveness. "What's wrong?" I opened my mouth to speak, but the words lodged in my throat. Instead, I nodded sharply toward Jason's silhouette. His back, oh. His eyes followed my gaze before narrowing into a scrutinizing glare. The sudden shift from warmth to tension filled the air, electrifying the moment. A chill ran through me as he called out, "Hey! You can't just lurk in the shadows." The authority in his voice was commanding, but it drew Jason closer, and panic surged anew each second. Inching toward chaos, Jason stepped forward, cornered by the spotlight of the moon and the dread that enveloped me. "I'm just looking for my friend," he said, a twisted smile creeping across his face, the veneer of calm unraveling with every word. "No need to get involved, friend." The father took a step back, positioning himself between the children and the looming threat. My heart raced as I recognized the danger. "Yeah, the one who's been avoiding me," Jason shrugged, feigning nonchalance, though every muscle in his body was tense, precarious. You know how it goes. Friends can be quite sticky sometimes. Before I could react, the air shifted again, an electric pulse reverberating amongst us. The little girl's tiny voice broke through, "You're scaring me." I looked down, horror blooming in my chest as I realized the toll of this confrontation on her. Eyes wide with fear, she clung to her father, her trust in me starting to falter. "Shoo, it's okay," I soothed, trying to reclaim my footing. "Everything is going to be just fine." Yet, the doubt in my voice echoed louder than I hoped. Is it? Jason challenged, taking a bold step forward. "What do they really know about you?" The father glared, defiance etched in his features. "You need to leave. You're not welcome here. Oh, I think I get to decide where I go." Jason's voice dripped with poison, and each word made the world feel a bit more unstable beneath my feet. Desperate, I stepped to his side and raised my voice. "This is not the place for you. Just go. Please." I felt exposed, raw, every emotion I tried to bury clawing its way back up. Jason paused, his eyes darting between me and the father, a grim smile spreading across his lips. "Not yet. I think we have unfinished business." And what better place to wrap things up than here with a family? The implication hung thick in the air, each word scraping against my skin like barbed wire. My heart raced as I turned back to the father, panic constricting my thoughts. How could I protect them? But just when I thought the situation couldn't get worse, Jason added with a chilling calmness, "Do you want to know the secret I've kept all this time? It's time to shed some light on your lovely friend." The revelation poised to spill from his lips felt like the ground cracking beneath my feet. I took a step back, my breath coming too quickly. Dread roared in my ears as Jason's eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction. "Tell them what you did." And with that, the shadows began to close in, and I knew in that merciless moment, my world was set to unravel once more. The silence stretched between us, an invisible cord pulling taut as Jason's words hung heavily in the air. My heart raced, each beat a frantic plea for time to reverse, to erase the choice that had brought us to this moment. The father's expression morphed from confusion to a troubled concern, realization dawning like a storm on the horizon. "Unfinished business. What do you mean?" he demanded, his voice steady yet laced with a tremor that betrayed his growing anxiety. "Nothing he needs to worry about," I quickly interjected, desperation edging my tone. I felt the weight of all our gazes, the little girl's wide, frightened eyes touching through the chaos inside me. This was not the moment for revelations, this was a moment for protection. But Jason relished the tension, drawing closer. "Isn't it, though? I mean, she does have quite a secret hidden away, doesn't she?" His eyes danced wickedly, a predator seeking to expose the raw flesh of hidden fears. A chill coursed down my spine, my mind racing through the memories I thought I had buried. "Jason, stop," I urged, my voice low but firm. "You don't have to do this. Whatever you think you know, it doesn't matter." His laughter sliced through the air, cruel and sharp. "Oh, but it does matter. Secrets always matter. And it's time honesty found a way out of that pretty little head of yours." I clutched my hands into fists at my sides, fighting the rising dread that threatened to overwhelm me. I looked back at the father, the strength he had shown faltering as the shadows loomed closer. "Please. Just take the kids and leave. This doesn't involve you." He shook his head, unwilling to abandon us to the pit that was slowly consuming my heart. "I'm not leaving without knowing what's going on." "Then let's just ask her directly," Jason continued, his voice low and enticing, as though drawing me in like a moth to a flame. "What's the truth, sweetheart? Tell them what you've hidden." The little girl squeezed her father's hand tighter, her face crumpled in confusion. "I don't want to be here anymore," she whimpered, her innocence a stark contrast to the malice that surrounded us. Panic surged through me, forcing me to step closer to them, shielding that tiny being from the darkness encroaching upon us. "You're safe," I promised, even as my own conviction faltered. "Just stay by your dad," but the father's gaze remained fixed on Jason. "You're sick. "Leave her alone," he proclaimed, but the crack in his voice revealed the fear that crept in, sleeping under the armor of his bravado. "Let's see what's really at stake here." Jason stepped back, his fingers deftly pulling something from his pocket, a small, crumpled piece of paper that glimmered in the silver moonlight like a shard of broken trust. "This will help us all understand." My stomach dropped as he held it up, a sinister grin spreading across his face. This is the key to the truth. You see, the past has a funny way of creeping back when you least expect it, doesn't it? As he unfolded the paper, a mixture of dread and understanding flickered. It was suddenly all too clear his control over me was not just a burden but a weapon he was willing to wield against those I cherished most. I could feel my insides twisting as every word he could potentially unleash upon us grew ever more dangerous. The father took a step forward, defiance blazing in his eyes. "What is it?" he challenged, his voice resolute, unwilling to back down. But Jason merely chuckled, enjoying this newfound power. "Oh, but that's the question of the hour, isn't it? The truth is a fickle friend, but always, worth the wait." He cast me a glance that ignited flames of fear coursing through my veins. "Tell them, or I will." Before I could speak, the park suddenly erupted in light and sound, an unexpected family gathering nearby drawing our attention. The laughter rang through the trees, a jarring reminder of the innocence and hope that contrasted sharply with the shadows around us. I seized the moment, hearts pounding furiously in unison. "Let's get out of here," I implored, gripping the father's arm, my eyes pleading. "Well, Gunnar, we don't have to stay." The little girl's voice broke through the rising chaos. "Please, I don't want to play anymore." The father's eyes flickered between the encroaching danger and my panicked expression, empathy fighting against instinct. But before he could respond, Jason raised the paper high, the semblance of control encasing him like a suffocating blanket. "Oh, the fun is only beginning," he said smoothly, the passion for chaos igniting an eerie glow in his eyes. In a flash, he crumpled the paper back into his pocket, every cruel intention crystal clear. "It's your choice, sweetheart. You can choose to run, to protect your new family, or you can face the truth. Either way, you cannot hide anymore." With a gut-wrenching realization, the shadows became all too tangible, wrapping around us like an embrace of despair. The park buzzed around us, joyful and oblivious, while I teetered on the edge caught between safety and the irrepressible weight of my past. His final words hung in the air like a weight I couldn't escape, every heartbeat echoing Jason's promise of exposure. The truth could tear us apart or unite us against the darkness, but I couldn't bear the thought of what was to come next. And as the laughter from the gathering grew closer, a dark uncertainty wrapped its fingers around my heart, leaving me breathless and clenched with dread. I had only moments left to decide what path would I take when confronted with the revealing light of my hidden truth. The air shimmered with uncertainty as laughter danced just beyond the tree line, creating an enchanting atmosphere that felt cruelly juxtaposed against the turmoil brewing in my heart. Panic twisted my insides, yet I remained caught in that dreadful limbo. Jason's looming presence reminded me that no matter the joy in the world around me, shadows followed closely at my heels, ready to pounce when I least expected. "Please." The little girl whimpered, her wide eyes filled with unshed tears, a mirror to my own inner turmoil. My heart ached at the sight. "Can we go?" The father, still locked in combat with Jason's menace, finally turned to me, desperation etched into every line of his face. "What's happening? What does he mean about your past? Is it true?" His question cut deeper than any knife could. In the face of my silence, dread clawed at me, and I forced myself to breathe. "It's complicated," I replied, each word a thread fraying under pressure. "But if I tell you, please," he urged, his expression conveying the unyielding need to shield his daughter despite the growing storm. "Oh, how touching," Jason interjected, his sardonic tone slicing the moment. "But let's not drag this out any longer, shall we? There's no need for fear." The father's gaze was steady, though I saw the flicker of horror behind it. "Do what you want, Jason. But no, I will protect them with everything I have." "Protect them? From what?" "From the truth." Jason laughed, a sound that felt like shards of glass cutting into the air. I assure you, the truth is far more dangerous than anything I could muster. In that moment of chaos, time felt suspended. I weighed the gravity of silence against the searing need to protect. The laughter behind us faded, blotting out a sense of normalcy that now felt like a dream. There is so much at risk, and I wish I could explain everything, I murmured, my heart pounding as the weight of Jason's threat settled around my shoulders. Then do it, the father pressed. Show us why we should trust you, Jason smirked, relishing the tension as if it were the sweetest nectar. Or the naivete. You think trust will save you? You think the past can sit quietly while you relish your little happiness? You're in for a rude awakening, my dear. I could hear the panic rising in my voice now as I faced the father. If I speak, if I bring my past to the forefront, it could endanger us all. I fought too hard to protect my life, to protect the ones I love, even if it meant burying everything that haunted me. I don't care. He shouted, his patience unraveling as the little girl stared up at him, a mixture of confusion and fear flooding her innocent features. We're all adults here, and whatever it is, we'll face it together. Suddenly, the laughter from the gathering flared up again, vibrant and full of life, pulling me momentarily from the edge of despair. A small glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was still a way to shield them from the past without succumbing to Jason's tyranny. Let's just go. We'll talk later, away from here, I urged, feeling the weight of all eyes upon me, the weight of Jason's unyielding grip squeezing tighter than before. But as I turned to look back at him, ready to push the urgency of escape, his hand shot up, halting me in my tracks. You really think it's that easy? You run and hide, pretending the shadows won't follow. That you can take them with you? His voice dripped with a venomous satisfaction, like a snake poised to strike. Too can I stammered, panic swelling once more. Before I could finish, the father's eyes widened as Jason took a step closer, pulling from his pocket that crumpled piece of paper, a catalyst of dread that thawed hope before it could sprout. Let's just clear the air with the truth, Jason said, a malicious gleam sparking in his dark gaze. Shall we take a little peek? He began unfolding the paper deliberately, as if dragging out the moment to amplify the tension. In that instant, I felt a rush of warmth, the light of the pack transforming the darkest corners of my mind just enough to ignite a spark within. No! I shouted, stepping forward in a final act of defiance. Let them go. The father's hand gripped my arm, his expression narrowing as though he could see the depth of my fear and pain. What do you mean? We're not going anywhere unless we know what this is about. Jason's smile disappeared, replaced with an intensity that threatened to explode. Then brace yourself, because you're about to see what the past is capable of. And trust me, it's darker than you've ever imagined. Every heartbeat throbbed in my throat as I braced for the impact of Jason's revelational force that threatened to rip apart the fragile piece I clung to. I watched in horror as the paper unfolded completely, my fear solidifying into cold realization because the truth he wielded was not just mine, it was an open door waiting to drag all of us into the black. As the words printed there began to take shape in Jason's voice, I caught the father's gaze lingering on mine, a silent plea buzzing in the air. Had I truly prepared him for this moment? And could he even understand the tempest of chaos that was about to be unleashed? In that instant, it all felt far too fragile. The bonds wet formed strained under the threat of exposure, and at that moment, I knew there was no escaping the truth. But could it save us, or would it tear the fabric of our hopes into tangled, broken threads? The forest around us dimmed, laughter fading as darkness encroached, and my heart thumped a staccato rhythm of dread. I had a choice looming, a choice to shield them or strip back the layers of my existence. Could love stand against the onslaught of unbridled truth? Only time would reveal the cost of both. As the stage was set and secrets prepared to spill forth, I felt the ground beneath me shifting, leaving one truth ever clear: the depths of the past had shifted, and it was clawing back for its due. The quiet unease stilled the night air around us as I faced Jason, the embodiment of my past run amok, the specter of unspoken darkness looming just above our fragile connections. It didn't have to come to this, I pleaded, desperation flooding my voice. I gripped the father's arm tighter, feeling his strength interweaving with my feeble hope. But Jason only laughed, a sinister melody springing forth, somehow inviting and terrifying all at once. Why not? His smirk widened, as he continued unraveling my past like a ping-pong ball ricocheting off walls, each bounce reminding me of how little control I had over this moment. The truth brings light, doesn't it? It feels so good to let it burn brightly. And what better way to share it than with your newfound family? I won't let you hurt them, I said, my voice tightening with every syllable. The warmth of the father beside me gave me courage, even as the little girl clung to him with wide, terrified eyes. She was so innocent, so blissfully unaware of the storm that threatened to shatter our world. Do you think your little comforts can shield you from the truth? Jason challenged, taking a step forward, invading our moment of unity. It's time they learn how far you go to escape your poster past worth remembering, wouldn't you say? The clarity of his words reverberated through the fog of my thoughts, each ringing chime dismantling the resolve I had painstakingly built. It was my fault, my choices that had woven this tangled web, and yet here I stood, on the brink of exposing this fragile family to the very darkness I had fought so hard to exorcise from my life. Leave them out of this, Jason. The defiance roared even in the face of my racing heart. They deserve better than your twisted games. Oh, but it's not a game, he stated, his voice dropping to a husky whisper that sent chills down my spine. It's a truth you've buried deep, and all truth begs to resurface. Think of this as a little excavation into your soul. I stifled a wince, the realization washing over me with tidal force. My soul was already overdue for an excavation. How long could I push the past aside before it came crashing back down, taking everything with it, everyone I loved? The tension in the air buzzed like a live wire, threatening to spark something terrible. The father's grip tightened, grounding me once more. Whatever it is you think you found, well, face it together. I will protect my children, and I will protect you, he proclaimed fiercely, his voice imbued with strength. But my heart sank at his words. The reality of how encompassing the danger was loomed in the shadow of Jason. You don't understand, I whispered, terror spilling from my lips. There are lengths to which he is willing to go that you cannot comprehend. I have fought this fight alone long enough, and I can't bear to drag you down. As I spoke, there was a flicker of understanding in the father's eyes. She could see the fractured pieces of my resolve. We are not to be kept in the dark. If we're going to survive this together, whatever you're hiding doesn't have to remain buried at the cost of your peace or ours. Stay away from them. I backed, the primal urge to shield them flaring anew. Again, Jason laughed, the vile sound curling my stomach. The ones you love may just become entangled in your secrets. Is that what you want? Each word pushed waves upon waves of guilt up against me, drowning all remnants of hope and resolve. I could feel the walls I had built crumbling, the looming revelation threatening like a tremor, ready to crack wide open, flooding everything we had built with the truth of my existence, a truth that could destroy. What could possibly be worse than being bound by deception? The father asked, his emerald gaze burning into mine. Let us face it together. At that moment, I realized that perhaps it was time to uproot the secrets I had buried. Perhaps facing the truth with the strength I had finally found in their company was my only way to protect them. The storm could rip us apart or unite us in an unwavering bond. With courage blossoming but clashing against fear, I took a breath deep enough to feel the cracks in my heart. It wasn't always this way, I started, my voice trembling, hesitation edging into uncertainty. As Jason's looming presence shifted from taunting to an impending storm gathering strength, I continued, I made choices out of fear, out of desperation, and they haunted me, choices that led me down dark paths instead of toward light. People I did wronged, decisions that had consequences far deeper than I could have imagined. I took a moment to compose myself, the children watching with wide eyes, soaking in every word of this unfolding tapestry. But things spiraled out of control. I let someone manipulate my fears into a weapon against me. When I finally found the strength to escape, The specter of those choices shadowed each step I took. Jason was part of that life. He wasn't just a friend, he was a reminder of all I wanted to forget. But he's also the reason I fought so hard to reclaim my life. No. Jason interjected, his voice dripping with venom. You think these fragile bonds will save you? You were a coward, and your cowardice still persists, but with each word I spoke, I felt hope awaken within the depths of my heart. I was a coward, yes. But I won't let fear control me any longer. The truth isn't just my burden to bear, it belongs to me and you, my family. I turned to the father and the children, their fear radiating but nestled under the blooming strength of solidarity. I searched their faces, desperately trying to shield them with my gaze. I refused to hide anymore. You deserve to know who I truly am. At that, I held my breath for a moment as I heard a collective intake of air. The father's eyes softened as his expression morphed into understanding and acceptance. Then Jason stepped forward, his smirk twisted into a mask of contempt, ready to shatter my intentions with renewed force. You truly think that admission will set you free? No, my dear. It may just seal your fate, but with the children beside me, tethering my thoughts to the present, another voice erupted forth stronger, bolder, a force of nature filled with conviction. Whatever shadows you've cast in the past, you're not standing alone in the light of truth, the father proclaimed fiercely. You have us with you. And you will not face your fears alone. It felt like a dam breaking inside me, the rush of warmth infusing my veins, the connection racing like electricity between us. For the first time, I felt a semblance of safety, a fragile hope emerging from the wreckage. Together, I echoed. Jason's laughter fell flat against the surge of our unity, a stormwater barrier crumbling in the light of our resolve. His plans unraveled in an instant as I faced the storm of my past defiantly, holding fast to the truth that illuminated our now. And as I found deeper strength within me, something shifted in the atmosphere, the encroaching darkness faltering. Perhaps, just perhaps we had the power to sway the tide. Truth can light the darkest corners and guide us home, but only if we're brave enough to face it head-on, I declared. It is time to walk into the light. At last, I turned my gaze firmly on Jason, grounding my fear as had become indistinguishable from the love I felt. Choose your path carefully. We are not afraid of your shadows because we have each other to stand against the storm. The tension tightened, but my belief grew arms to encircle the family beside me. Jason's smile twisted as he realized the shift that began to uncoil all he had ever used against me. A final reckoning. Well, see, he hissed, the menace in his voice a bruised effort to regain control but lacking the bite it once held. That's right, we will, the father added, his voice steady with a fierce determination. Because we're here to stay, and you will not destroy what's been forged in this sanctuary. And in that moment, the layers shifted forever. As Jason recoiled, I could almost hear the filaments of connection tightening around us, blending love, courage, and a singular hope of redemption. In defiance, we had carved out space for acceptance, for healing, the harbinger of dawn rising to meet us in the clarity born from our darkest hours. With hands clasped together, my newfound family embracing me against the encroaching shadows, quiet power surged through us, leading us forth into the light that awaited us beyond the darkness. Whatever lay ahead, we were prepared to face it boldly, side by side, and as we stepped forward, embracing the light of our truth, I knew that every stitch we forged in this journey would guide us back to each other again, stronger, united in an unwavering bond built through the fires of the past. True families rise against the storm, I murmured, my voice steady and sure. Together,